Good afternoon, everyone. In addition to the members of the board that have been introduced, I'd like to recognize the presence of the Archbishop of our community, my good friend Thomas Winsky, Bishop of Miami. Also with us is Dr. Kim Przybylski, who is the Superintendent of the Archdiocese Schools. We also have representing the Consortium of Charter Schools in the Greater Miami-Dade, Mr. Fernando Zulueta, President of Academica, and Maggie Frezin Zulueta, Vice President of Academica. This represents a united front, and there is no greater unity than the unity we have with our teacher representatives. And we have with us the President of UTD, Carla Hernandez-Matz, First Vice President Antonio White, and Secretary-Treasurer Ms. Mindy Grimes-Fesci. And I'd like to say, first and foremost, thank you to our teachers, to our support staff across the district for the level of intense preparation that has led to what I believe is a best-in-class plan for the developments ahead. I want to thank my entire team also for their work over the past few weeks. Needless to say, we are ready. This is not like preparing for a hurricane, for hurricanes are predictable in terms of their speed, anticipated devastation, and most importantly, timing. The coronavirus COVID-19 is unpredictable. We do not know when, where, or whom it will affect. Therefore, it is our moral and legal obligation to take whatever steps are necessary to protect our community, beginning with the most vulnerable and the most fragile. We have said time and time again, including just yesterday, that this is a fluid and evolving situation. And the last 24 hours have proven that. Over the past 24 hours, two significant elements occurred in our community. One, the unexpected and sudden closure of every one of Miami-Dade College's campuses, with little warning to our community. We have over 9,000 individuals enrolled in dual enrollment classes at all campuses, in addition to a high school present in all campuses, School for Advanced Studies. Overnight, we had to relocate those students for continuity of education to take place today. In addition to that, we detected significant challenges specific to interagency communication, most recently revealed with a case of an employee of the municipality of Bay Harbor who earlier in the week was declared as being a presumptive case of COVID-19, for then the Department of Health to deny that confirmation, for then a retraction to take place, for then, inexplicably, last night at 10:13 p.m., for us to learn that, in fact, that individual was tested and tested positive for the coronavirus. That individual is not an employee of the school system, but that individual is responsible for aftercare services to dozens of children attending both public and private schools in the area. The cross-pollination through families, meaning siblings of those children who attend middle schools and senior high schools across the community, is something that we could not ignore. So as I said, considering the challenges associated with interagency communication and the swiftness or lack thereof that we detected last night, put us in a position, after having listened to our governor's declaration of emergency, having just recently heard our president's declaration of national emergency, we are now at a point of doing what is in the best interest of every single member of our community, beginning with our children and our employees. Therefore, I am declaring an emergency closure of all schools for the week beginning March 16th. That is this coming Monday. As we've told you before, curricular resources have been made available to every one of our teachers and every one of our students throughout our public school system. I want to be clear because I know our employees are listening. Every one of our MEP leaders, those are exempt managerial leaders in our school system, executives, are required to report to work as usual. In addition to them, our police unit will continue to work throughout the week. In addition to that, select teams of sanitation crews and maintenance crews, as well as food service personnel, will be reporting to work. Every one of the entities that I mentioned shall receive a call from their immediate supervisor. The week that follows will be spring break, and spring break will continue as planned. So this declaration of emergency is for 1 week and 1 week only. We shall revisit the timeline should circumstances change during the next week. I want to be clear about one thing. All after-school activities today will proceed as planned, but they shall be canceled beginning Monday. There is Saturday school that takes place tomorrow. Tomorrow's Saturday school, which occurs at 109 schools, will continue as scheduled for one reason that I will address in a little bit. In addition to that, our facilities are used by community partners for church services and club organization meetings. Those shall continue throughout this weekend. We will make a decision about the utilization of those buildings by these entities going into next weekend. We've spoken quite a bit about our ability to continue teaching and learning despite a school closure, and we are ready to do so. In fact, we have launched our ICP program, that's the Instructional Continuity Plan. We created a website dedicated to this instructional delivery platform at icp.dadeschools.net. That platform reveals specific grade-level aligned, standards-aligned, age-appropriate content for all students in the school system, with particular attention and adaptation to students with special needs. In fact, for students with special needs, in addition to access to the content, there will be supplemental resources to provide for their specific disability. We have activated and will continue to man a hotline, a support hotline, to provide support to the curriculum resources and our online distance learning model. That line is 305-995-HELP. Any parent, any student, any teacher can call that hotline for assistance with their learning program. It will be active will be active until 8 p.m. tonight, and then from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. starting Monday and throughout the week. We have begun this morning the distribution of personal devices to students. We have in excess of 200,000 devices available in our school system to put in the hands of students and even teachers who may not have those resources. Across all schools in Miami-Dade, that distribution has begun, and it will continue through tomorrow. That is why it is important to continue the Saturday school program ongoing to ensure that every single student, after they were surveyed, after they declared their need, to be able to pick up their device. In addition to that, the one school that will not be open for device distribution, obviously, is Ruth K. Broad, Bay Harbor. Distribution instructions for the devices for that school shall be communicated directly by the principal to all impacted parents and students. Beginning Monday, and this is a very important announcement for connectivity and access to internet resources in Miami-Dade, quite frankly, in some communities is not what it should be. We have been able to secure free internet Wi-Fi connectivity through Comcast Xfinity for every single person who needs it in our public school system at no cost for 60 days, and then we will seek renewal should there be a need. Simply put, every single family, every single student who needs resources will have resources for a continuation of learning beginning Monday. I am proud of the fact that we were able to swiftly have productive conversations with United Teachers of Day to ensure that they are partners in bringing normalcy to our community beginning Monday. And informative meetings have taken place, professional development opportunities have taken place on a limited basis, and they shall continue online first thing Monday. So Monday, teachers will have additional online professional development to support the distance learning that the system will be offering. Teachers will be receiving communication directly from our HR department regarding the professional development opportunity beginning Monday. Speaking directly to our personnel, we are a poor community. 73.4% of our students live at or below the poverty level. Many of their parents are members of our workforce. We are monitoring and advocating for proposed legislation at the federal level. We are monitoring and advocating the expedited approval of state waivers to secure three important things. Number one, full relief through reimbursement for all costs associated with the shutdown, sanitization, and additional resources for both employees and teachers. That includes funds to provide for the hourly employees who, without working hours, are devoid of sustenance for their families. That is critically important to us. In addition to that, we will consider any and all options available to us to allow those employees to make up time lost once the emergency is lifted. Equally important, nobody in this community who works for Miami-Dade County Public Schools should go without the appropriate health care they deserve. That includes free coronavirus test at any medically approved facility under the care and recommendation of a doctor, with no co-payment or co-insurance. In addition to that, with spring break approaching, I want to speak clearly through common sense language to our workforce. If individuals travel to hot zones across the world, if they travel to warning level 2 or 3, meaning any one of the 6 nations or locales across the globe, or they decide to take a cruise where an incident is declared, upon their return, they will not be covered as far as their payroll is concerned during the quarantine or self-isolation time. That is common sense. We live in a community where high poverty translates into food insecurity. That means for over 73% of our children, if schools are closed and there are no plans, no provisions, they may very well go without eating. That is why this board has taken proactive action and policy over the past few years to ensure that during school closures, children shall continue to be fed. That is why we have planned and will begin executing a community feeding plan beginning this Monday. Between 9 a.m. and 12:30 p.m., every one of our children at every one of our schools shall have the right to have access to a free, nutritious, hot meal. That includes breakfast and lunch at every single site. We will continue to work with our federal partners to ensure that what we are doing today is fully reimbursed after the fact. That requires a waiver approval by USDA at the federal level. I'm encouraged by conversations that we have had with Senator Marco Rubio, as well as a number of members of Congress who are sponsoring and supporting these waiver provisions at the federal level. In addition to that, it is not lost to us that Tuesday, March 17th, is an election day. Our sites shall be open and remain open for the election. Immediately following the election, those sites shall be cleaned and sanitized to the highest level requirement to ensure a safe and healthy return for our children and those who teach them every single day. We're not going to be idle during this week of closure and the spring break that will follow. In fact, we're going to take advantage of these 14 days to achieve one thing. 14 days is the parallel equivalent to the time period declared by medical entities associated with a declaration of symptoms specific to COVID-19. The incubation period is timed to be around 14 days. That is an advantage to us. For if any one employee or student develops symptoms during that time period, they can actually seek medical attention, and when we restart the school system, they will not be there if the appropriate protocols in collaboration with the health department are in fact followed. During school closure time, we're also going to accelerate capital improvement projects in our school system. This is time off for students, time off for some staff members, but not time off for the private sector partners who can in fact take advantage of the absence of students to accelerate their capital improvements without compromising, further potentially compromising the safety and well-being and health of our students. In addition to that, we will utilize this time to engage in deep cleaning of our schools and deep sanitization of every one of our buildings. We are ensuring that every one of the private sector contractors that has access to our schools is following the strictest, highest level CDC protocols as well as our own Miami-Dade County Public Schools protocols. That means if they traveled, if they are in a compromised position, they cannot come into our facilities. Critical to our teachers, principals, and parents. With graduation dates approaching, it is important for us to advocate with Tallahassee on the federal level for a consideration of relaxation of accountability requirements that would compromise timely graduation for our seniors, consideration of assessment timelines and requirements to recognize the percentage of students who are English language limited in this school system, who are facing poverty, and who will face a much steeper climb to recover time lost when we return. So we will be speaking with our state and federal partners to access waivers and the relaxation of educational criteria. We have opened a number of hotlines in our school system. Number one, the Emergency Operations Hotline, which has been open this week, continues to be open and shall be active until 8 p.m. tonight, and the number for that is 305-995-3000. It will reopen tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Any question can be directed at 305-995-3000. I have actually asked for members of our charter school community, as well as the private education institutions during this time of emergency, to sit in our command center and have the requests of their schools to be funneled through our resources. This shows united and unified concern for every segment of our community, impacting all children. Distance learning support, to provide support for our instructional continuity plan. Teachers and students and parents can call in at 305-995-HELP. And then the all-important support to our workforce. These are stressful times filled with anxiety for many. They can call 305-995-7111 for counseling, psychological support, and emotional support. We are doing the same for our students by providing continuous mental health support through our hotline as well. If you're feeling stress, anxiety, do not dwell in it alone. If you're an employee or a student, if you have a relative impacted, affected by COVID-19, we are here to assist. My friends, we did not take this decision, we did not make this move without fully considering the impact that it would have in the community. It strikes a balance between awareness, preparedness, and execution of a well-thought-out plan while considering the disruption from an economic perspective that it brings to our community. But failing to take action was no longer acceptable, with all public colleges and universities around us shuttered, with every single sports venue and activity canceled, with every artistic, philanthropic event around us canceled, and with a growing number of declared, confirmed, or presumptive cases around us increasing, it would be immoral for us not to take this step. With that said, one of the very first conversations I had was with President and CEO of Jackson, Carlos Migoya, who had expressed to me earlier in the week his concern about us closing our school system, for he expects a growing number of cases to report to Jackson, and he depends on his professionals, nurses, nurse practitioners, orderlies, doctors, who happen to be the parents of the children in our public school system. His concern was, with a shutdown, he would lose some of his essential talent. We have prepared for that, and we have decided to open a number of sites close to Jackson North, Jackson Downtown, and Jackson South, and via private sector partners that we have to provide child care services to employees of Jackson Memorial. President Migoya is thrilled with that opportunity, for we have been able to alleviate one of his strongest concerns as he ramps up to deal with this ominous pandemic. We're not saying that we are perfect. We know that we are traveling waters and a journey like none before. We have a great plan. There will be challenges. There will be some teachers who will log on to our platform and will be booted out. There will be students who will have challenges. That's why we have a hotline. But even though it is not perfect, it reflects the best practices, the best thinking, the best resources available to us at this point. So I'm asking our community of colleagues and our community of parents and students for patience as we collectively navigate through this pandemic. Algunas palabras en